What up? What up? What up? Podcast party people. How are you, friends? How you doing? How you living? Feeling good? Feeling alive? You feeling fresh? I don't know if I'm feeling fresh. I mean, I feel showered and clean, but I don't know if I feel fresh. I feel smoky. That's what I feel. I feel fucking smoky. Jesus Christ. California, the whole goddamn West Coast is burning down. Every day we wake up, it's just like, today I woke up and it was seriously like being on Mars. I'm not even fucking exaggerating. Like the whole sky was orange and it was crazy. It was crazy. And I thought it was like fucking 5 a.m. or something. I thought it was like totally dark still. And I was like, what the fuck? And I looked and I was like, it's 8. I'm like, holy shit. And no, the whole sky and then I got out my car. My car is covered in ash. Everybody's car. The whole neighborhood is just fucking, you can't even walk out your front door without a goddamn mask on. Good thing we got masks now everywhere because of coronavirus. Yeah, I got shit tons of masks I can put on when I walk outside the door now. And so that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But yeah, it was crazy. It's kind of scary. I mean, we're lucky enough that at least all the fires that were near us before are now farther away. So the big fire right now that's close to us is called I think it's called the Bear Fire. It's in Butte County in Oroville. It's about an hour and a half away from us, northeast of us. But man, the fucking smoke just all along California. There's so many fires burning, and you know, everybody. I guess there was a gender reveal party that caused a big kerfuffle, and everybody's like, "Oh, gender reveal party, gender reveal." It's like, no, that's not the fucking. Yes, that was a fire. And we know about the gender. I didn't even know. I'm like, what the fuck is a gender reveal party? I had to look it up. Like, what is a gender reveal? And apparently a gender reveal party is when, your wife is pregnant and, you don't find out what the baby's sex is for 5 months, probably about 5 months. And then they do a test and you find out if it's a boy or a girl. And of course, this is all cool because back in the day, 20, 30, 40 years ago, you didn't know what it was until it popped out, right? I remember we had a test done when we hit the 5 month mark, and we didn't have a party. I don't recall having a party about it. I was like, that's cool. I mean, we might have celebrated on our own, me and Ginevra, but I don't think that we did anything. I mean, other than call our family and be like, hey, yeah, cool. But, yeah, I guess it's a big thing now, especially with social media. I guess it's a big thing where, before you used to have like a cake or you used to have like a pink balloon or a blue balloon and you'd pop it and confetti and yay, family over, cool. So I guess now with social media, everybody wants to have this gigantic fucking earth-shattering social media moment. It's a boy! And so I guess they get like sparklers and smoke things and smoke devices, and I guess this poor family, I fucking feel terrible for them because I'm sure they just feel like complete dog shit. But, they get some kind of smoking device, I guess like a type of firework or something. And keep in mind, they're in Southern California, which this weekend was 115 fucking degrees. So why you'd want to do that, I have no idea, but they do it anyway. And I guess it starts grass on fire and fucking it just gets out of control because it's windy and hot, and yeah, I don't know, it's fucking horrible. I mean, sure, they feel terrible now. The firemen or whoever, I don't know, somebody's sitting there, not the firemen, but I don't know, somebody's going, oh, they might have to pay for it. I'm like, pay for it? Like, how? Like, no one could pay for that. Like, it's 47,000 acres of burning. Like, just. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's fucking terrible. Probably one of, what should have been one of the biggest, most exciting moments of their life turned into fucking a horrible catastrophe. And, I feel for them. And especially now with all the fucking shit that's going on, just there's so many So many fires burning all up and down Oregon and Washington and Vancouver and all over California. It's fucking crazy. And so, we don't got the federal government. Just so you all know, too, regardless of who's president, it doesn't matter who's president, Donald Trump or Obama or Bush or Clinton or whoever, California only takes care of about 3% of the forests. The other 97% is handled by the federal government. The federal government this is all one big country. We're all one nation here. We're all Americans here, fellow Americans. And, hundreds of years ago, it was decided that they would take care of that. But, admittedly, this administration has admitted to defunding, many of the blue states. And so, this is the kind of stuff that's happening. And then, you get Trump going in there, I've told them they need to rake more and they should just First of all, this motherfucker's never held a rake in his life. This motherfucker grew up spoiled. Right, he was a millionaire by the time he was 8 years old. $200,000 a year allowance. Trust me, he's had somebody raking his lawn and his fucking garden of his fucking whatever expansive mansion that his family had or he had forever. Never even used a rake. That motherfucker couldn't tell the difference between a garden hoe and a fucking rake. Although he could probably tell the difference between that and a Slovakian hoe. Oh! Booyakacha! Slovenian hoe. Not Slovakian, Slovenian, sorry. Sorry to all the Slovakians. Jesus. But yes. And contrary to what he keeps saying, you got to rake the forest. It's actually not about the forest. These are grass fires. These, California can be, it's fucking 10 hours from top to bottom, 4 hours from left to right, from east to west. And, there's forest all over here. And then there's huge expanses of just dry, wheat fields and, grass. It's mainly grass. It's like a lot of it. And then you can go into the mountains where there's snow. And then there's, it's just, there's a million different things here. People think, Hollywood, and it's like, no, I'm in the Bay Area. I'm 6 hours north of Hollywood. We're a plane flight away or a long ass drive away. And then there's another 6 hours above us. Go to like Eureka and shit, like where I go camping and shit like that. Like that's 5 hours away. So it's crazy. And it's crazy that we are. And then we had, you got all these motherfuckers like climate change is no. You think climate change is a hoax? Come to California. Come to California right now and fucking. We just had 13,000 lightning strikes in a 7-day period, and it's like they call it dry thunder because there's no rain, and I just I've never seen anything like it. We every year we have a fire season. Doesn't matter who's president, if it's a Democrat or Republican. We have fire season. And I'm always, there's a lot of fucking crazy shit that goes on September, October here. We always get fires. And in fact, my friend Mike Sloat, who is our longtime video director, he came on. He didn't come on here. His family back in 2017, his parents, their whole block, the whole neighborhood burned down. There was a huge fire. I can't remember what it was called. That was actually started by a PG&E line, not lightning strikes. But the whole fucking, it was a gigantic, massive, massive fire. And every single house in their neighborhood burned down except for theirs. And the two people, in fact, the fire came right up to, I guess they got a barn in their backyard. The barn burned down, but the house and the two houses right on either side of them survived, and the rest of the neighborhood didn't. And it was fucking, he sent me pictures of it. It was the craziest shit. It looked like Hiroshima. If you've ever seen those pictures of Hiroshima after the bomb, everything is leveled. Everything is just smoking and their house survived somehow. It was just it was a miracle. Like, it was just a miracle that their house survived. And so this stuff happens all the time. Like it's happened for, many, many years. I remember going to see Anthrax and Public Enemy back in 91, 90. There was a huge Oakland fire. And like the whole mountainside of Oakland, there's the flats of Oakland, which is kind of like as you go towards the water, and then it's flat. And then there's a hill that separates the valley, which is kind of where I live now, and, Oakland, which is the more urban area. And that whole hillside, I was walking, you're walking up to it. I was coming from Richmond at the time, walking up to it and just watching this whole fucking mountainside on fire where people live. This is all like a heavily populated area in Oakland, Berkeley, all this. And the show still went on, which was crazy because I remember going into the show and just looking at this giant fire on the fucking side of this fucking mountain that's only, maybe 2 miles away, maybe 4 miles away. And, but yeah, so, going back forever, we've had this kind of stuff going on. But, yeah, I don't recall it ever happening this early. That's the thing that's crazy about all this. Like, it's normally September. It's normally October when it starts. Now they started in August, all these crazy lightning storms. So, but we're holding it down. You just got to wear a mask. Got to, you wear your mask and you fucking get out there, and I always got to wear a mask anyway, so it's not like that big of a difference between the coronavirus and the fires, and it's fucking crazy times, man. Some crazy, crazy fucking times. Anyway, I'll wrap that up. Just wanted to give you an update of where we are, but the sky was orange this morning. It was crazy. The sky was orange. It's fucking insane. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. It was like being on Mars. It was like that scene in Total Recall when Arnold gets thrown out into the fucking, without the mask on, and his head starts exploding, his eyes start popping out of his eyes, and the whole fucking world is orange. It was just like that. It was freaking nuts. That's right. I just threw out an Arnold Schwarzenegger Total Recall reference there. You catch that? You catch that? All right. Today's podcast is brought to you on the Gas Digital Network. If you head over to gasdigitalnetwork.com/live, you can actually see this podcast every Wednesday. And if you use the code NFR for no fucking regrets, you can get the first 14 days of your subscription for free and get $1 off. You can get $1 off your subscription first 14 days for free, so you don't even, it's basically like getting half off and then $1 off on top of that. Subscribe. People are always asking me, hey man, how can I help out an artist? Well, this particular artist has a podcast, and if you subscribe, you get the content early and you get access to all of the other content that's on Gas Digital. Jamie Joss's podcast is on there. The Joss Show. Legion of Skanks is on there. News, political stuff, libertarian stuff, conservative stuff, democratic stuff, whatever, everything that you could possibly want on a podcast. And if you go there again, code NFR gets you first 2 weeks for free and $1 off. So subscribe. That is an awesome way to support Machine Head, support my podcast, to support this currently out of work artist. It is also brought to you by Nuclear Blast. Nuclear Blast Records is the premier heavy metal label throughout the universe. The universe, motherfuckers. They got all kinds of shit. They're killing it. They've got, who's the latest sign-in? They just dropped a new record. I think they're dropping, they just did an In Flames reissue. They've got, who was it? I think Powerwolf has got a new record coming out. Also, they got bands such as Nightwish. They've got Machine Head. They've got Sepultura. I believe they now have Soulfly. They've got Slayer. So they've got Meshuggah. They've got Opeth. They have a massive warehouse in Germany and a massive warehouse in the United States where they fulfill all of their stuff. So you can get, you don't got to go through Amazon. You don't got to go to a store. You can get it directly from them. And they've got super premium physical stuff like sick-ass vinyl, sick-ass deluxe CD stuff. Head over to nuclearblast.com. There's also a German version. I think it's EU or something like that. You got to add that in there somewhere. But check it out. They got sales all the time. They've got little specials. They got some dope shit over there, man. So go hang out over there. And once again, my show is sponsored by Altamont Beer Works. Altamont Beer Works is a fantastic, fan-fucking-tastic craft brewery right here in the Bay Area. That's right, the Bay Area, not Los Angeles, motherfuckers. Don't get it twisted. We's is the Bay Area, Oakland up here. We're the Bay. We're 6 hours north of fucking Los Angeles. We're the Bay, or as E40 says, the Yay area. Get it? Yay area. Anyway, speaking of Bay Area rappers, these guys do a bunch of collabs with Bay Area rappers. There was a famous rapper up here called Mac Dre. So they've got the Mac Drizzle Gold 4-pack. Fizz Ale is what it is. A hop-forward golden ale with notes of melon, gooseberry, passion fruit, and lychee fruit. They've also got the Mac Drizzle Platinum IPA 4-pack. Fizz Platinum IPA is what's up, laced with loads of Mosaic, Cashmere, and Eldorado hops. That hit hard with flavors, aromas of fresh tropical fruits, ripe orchard fruits, and sticky, icky dank. All kinds of dank beers going on at Altamont. They've got that. They've got a new one called the Oktober Fest 4-pack. Our take on a traditional Fest beer lager using all German ingredients. This lager has a deep golden amber color, is full-bodied yet smooth, and has a touch of hops for balance. Raises to celebrate the fest season. Prost! Prost, motherfuckers! Prost! Let's see what else they got. They got Cashmere Fuel, the fourth beer in our IPL, another Cashmere hops. Whirlpool, smooth, clean bitterness, crushed notes of a lemon and melon. That's right, lemon and melon. They got all kinds of the fruit going on in there. They've got another one of my favorites here. They've got hella hoppy. They've got Smoke and Dank 4-pack. Don't even fuck with that. Smoke and Dank 4-pack crafted for our fellow hopheads and stoners. This triple IPA. Triple, not a double. Triple IPA. This shit'll rip your tongue out. Features the most dankiest, resinous hop blend that delivers a mouthful of herbaceous elixir. 11%, motherfuckers. You smoke some weed... You drink that shit, oh my God, you're going to be crushed. You smoke some Bay Area weed and drink some of this Bay Area triple IPA, you're fucking hammered. Yeah, hammered. All right, let's see what else they got. They got they got crowlers. They got shit tons of crowlers too. I always forget about the crowlers. 32-ounce oat dark lager. This lager is just deliciously light and smooth with a balanced roast character. Tastes like drinking the perfect light roast coffee blend with balanced hints of chocolate. They've got Mild in the Streets crowler, our take on an English dark mild. British Maris Otter malt, malted oats, and a touch of... that sounds good. Yeah, they've got all kinds of crowlers that are fucking rocking, man. They got lots of shit. Head on over to altamontbeerworks.com. If you use the code NFR, you will get 10% off of your order, and they deliver all throughout the United States. Not throughout the United States of America. All throughout California. They deliver all throughout California. Up and down in Eureka, down in San Diego, over in fucking Redding, over in anywhere you want it. Tahoe, you got it. As long as it's in California side of Tahoe, use code NFR, get 10% off their fine IPAs and stouts. I'm going to take you over to some Napalm Death. I got Barney from Napalm Death. You know, you know who I got? I got the Subs Club here. I got the Twitch Twats watching. I can't speak today. Twitch Twats watching. That's a hard one. A lot of Twitch Twats watching. What's up? So here, my man Pilo and Gozer. We got some Twitch Tots. I'm on Twitch. If you didn't know, I'm on Twitch. Come hang out with me. I'm on there every day about 3 p.m. California time. Anyway, we got Barney from Napalm on. Got to say shout out to Barney. It was a great interview. It was fun. Great catching up with him. Napalm Death took Machine Head on our first tour of the United States. I had toured the United States previously when I was in the band Violence, but I toured the first time with Machine Head opening for Napalm Death, sharing a bus with Napalm Death, getting drunk and high with Napalm Death, doing cocaine with Napalm. There's a lot of firsts on that tour. There's a lot of firsts. It's a fun tour. Most of it was great. Some of it was rough. We were the opener, so opener on a grindcore death metal tour, and we weren't a grindcore death metal band, so they didn't. Sometimes people loved us, and sometimes they weren't feeling it. But it was a great tour. I always will be grateful for the opportunity. It helped launch us. And they gave us the first chance, man. What can I say? They gave us our first chance, shared the bus with them. So that was fun, getting to know those guys. Like living on a bus with people, you get to know them more so than maybe not living on a bus with them. So I tell you what, and before that, I had followed Napalm's career because I knew about all that. I'd seen them back in '91 open up. No, they didn't open up. They headlined. They had Godflesh on tour with them. It was a fucking crazy ass show. We talk about the show on the podcast. It was fucking epic. Their fucking drummer at the time, he was a maniac. He whipped that crowd into a frenzy. He got everybody to turn against the security. Oh my God, it was almost a riot. It was insane. It was some great shit. Anyway, when I first started hearing about Napalm Death, it was because of this song right here. I don't know how they feel about it now, but they had that song "You Suffer," which has gone down to be documented as the shortest song in the history of the world. It is, I believe, 3 seconds. Check out "You Suffer." That's it. That's it right there. That's the whole song. I'll play it again for you. That's it right there. But then this song, I heard this song back in the day off of the Scum record, and I was like, ooh. And this was before Barney. This was before Barney was in the band. But, definitely part of the iconic Napalm Death discography. This shit's heavy. Sick ass album cover too. Then there's this, From Enslavement to Obliteration. This is unchallenged hate for the rocker. Napalm's known for being super blasty, the inventors of grindcore, but they always had a good groove, man. Lee Dorian on vocals, who was in the band and may still be in the band, Cathedral. Future Cathedral singer, I should say. It's a pretty savage guitar tone, too, from back in the day. This right here, Suffer the Children off of Harmony Corruption. This shit goes off live. I like this song too. I Abstain. I always thought this was killer. Off of Utopia Banished. Tell you what, Utopia Banished has got a fucking badass album cover. I need to make an album cover like this. This is the shit that just looks sick on a t-shirt. I need to bring this shit back. It's got fucking Like a naked chick and a naked dude, half skulls and zombies and fucking grinders and I am dead, son of my life, but find me on the freaking eyes, into addiction, the last again on your fall, the complexity, the sense of preserving the right, the demons of it, I have paid for this birthday apathy. This is More Than Meets the Eye off of Fear, Emptiness, Despair. This is when we toured with them. When Machine Head toured with Napalm Death, this was the tour that we were touring with them on. And then this right here, this is Greed Killing off of Diatribes. I always thought this was cool. It was like, whoa, they got melodic. It was cool. Like you hadn't really heard this from them. Still got that hard ass groove. Then you got the classic Nazi Punks Fuck Off. Dead Kennedy's cover. Nazi Punks Fuck Off. That's right. Back in the 80s they were saying that. Still stands true today. Nazi Punks Fuck Off. If you've ever heard the Dead Kennedys version of this song, it's not legit. This is way heavier. Yeah, there ain't no blast beats. Fucking kill it. And then there's Breathe to Breathe, the Torn Apart record. Then there's this, Backlash Just Because. That's heavy. Cool off-time riff. Belly full of salt and spleen. Amoral. The song's a crusher. this song. Kind of reminds me of like Industrial or something. I can totally hear the goth influence on this. Barney talks a lot about that, the goth influence on the band. I can totally hear it in songs like this. And this right here, #1 song on Spotify, The Wolf I Feed. Banger right there. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the Godfathers of Grindcore. From the Godfathers of Grindcore, Barney Greenway, Napalm Death. I was just talking to Steve Lagudi. Steve Lagudi says to say hello.
Oh yeah,
He does. Yeah. Steve was just sending me these pictures. I was like, I'm interviewing Barney. I was just like, you got any funny stories? And he's just like, oh my god.
Oh yeah.
He sent me this picture. Where is it? He sent me this picture. He says that you, guy named Vern.
Oh yeah.
Vern, he's sitting there, he's laying in his tighty whities.
Yeah.
Like, tell me about. What is it, CJ and Vern? Yeah, CJ and Vern.
Yeah.
It says that you got
CJ and Vern. Yeah, so it was the dream team, you know. It was the team. So basically, we would hire people who weren't necessarily the best qualified to do tech work, you know, by any stretch of the imagination. We'd just hire them just as an extra dimension for the tour. So, you know, entertainment for everybody.
Right.
You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. These guys, CJ and Vern, I love them to pieces, man. You know, they're like, I really do. They are like, Vern was there when we recorded Harmony Corruption. I mean, he got me so,
wow.
Yeah, he got me so fucking stoned, you know, and I'm not a smoker, you know, he got me so insanely stoned. I don't remember even recording the vocals, you know. I mean, Rob, I'm not joking. I don't remember recording the vocals for Harmony Corruption. I have no fucking memory of it at all.
I was going to say, I don't recall you smoking weed ever.
I never was, because it made me insanely paranoid, you know. So, but Vern had this way of, like the Pied Piper, you know, getting you to do it. And I was just, fuck, you know, I was absolutely bummed, man, when I did the Harmony Corruption. But, you know, Vern was always, he's like this guy that he's very expressive. Like, he uses his hands, and it's like, if you ever stand near him when he's trying to express it, it's like getting hit by a tornado, you know what I mean? It's like his hands like whip up and stuff. And he'd been doing some teching work for other bands, and like, he was an old friend, so we were like, yeah, he'd be perfect, you know, let's just take him, you know. But I think Vern, by his own admission, he's not the best tech guy in the world. Let's just put it like that. But so we just used to hire him just because we know it would just be a complete disaster, you know. And it was just entertainment, you know. But the, you know, the great thing about Vern is so we used to mess with him, and like you've seen the picture there. There was also one where we put that picture as a backdrop in a club. They had one of the early digital screens, and that picture was up like full, like in a 400, 500 club, you know, everybody
the entire show. Vern, that was your backdrop.
Yeah, and Vern's there on the side of the stage, not even seeing this because he's so stoned, you know, he's not even seeing this thing behind. And like, everybody's looking at him, pointing at him, because they can tell that it's him on the screen. And he's like, what? You know, yeah. So it was stuff like, I mean, it's a little bit mean, you know, but he took it in good stead. You know, I would never bully anybody, you know, if any way like that. But it's just fun and games. But Vern was great. You know, he played on the tour that Shane couldn't do on the last US tour. and he played bass, and he also played bass on a Canadian guitar or bass on a Canadian show we did. So yeah, he's helped us out in many ways, and I love him to bits, man. You know, we mess with him like crazy, you know, but he always takes it in good humour, and you know, yeah. But we did fuck with him like big time, you know. A couple of times.
Steve was telling me that you used to like. You'd be like, something's the matter with the monitor, and he'd run out, and then you just jump on him and ride him
yeah,
like a
totally,
bull.
yeah, and just ride him around the stage and stuff. Yeah, totally, yeah. But,
You always gotta have those. You always gotta have those people to torture on the road.
Well, remember Mike? You remember Mike, your old guy?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. Mike Scott.
Yeah. He was proper entertainment as well. And CJ's the other guy. I mean, basically, CJ's like fucking incredible. You know, he's actually a great tech, but we just fuck with him anyway. You know, because him and Vern together was just like, it was just quality. You know, it was like Lauren and Hardy or something like that, man. You know, it was really like that. You know, so. But CJ, basically CJ he's from like New Jersey, you know, so he lives over there, and he always, if we're ever in a tight spot, he would like help us out, because you know it is on tour sometimes something's happened and you're in a tight spot and you need somebody to help you out, and people like him, if he wasn't there, we would have been in a far worse position. And also his mum and dad actually like would just invite us over and cook dinner, and like that. I stayed with him several times. They didn't need to put me up, like, you know what I mean? They didn't need to do that, you know, and they let me stay there. So, you know, we mess with them, but they are like friends. They're the sort of friends for life, you know, that you get sometimes, you know, that you never forget, you know, and we'll always.
They're from Florida? They're both from Florida?
Vern's from Florida, Tampa, and CJ's from New Jersey, you know, but so yeah, it is, yeah. I mean,
That's
Steve,
awesome.
just one small story. Things are kind of coming to me, but there was a classic moment with CJ and Lagudi, actually. So we were playing somewhere. We'd had a day off or something, a rare day off, and like finding some place to eat in this town was fairly difficult anyway. And then so we found this small, like kind of low grade, like Chinese restaurant, and like Steve and CJ were sitting there, and they just ordered some food. And CJ's like very picky, you know, about his food. He doesn't like vegetables really, you know. It's like he's a meat guy with all the kind of junky stuff, and fine, you know, whatever. Not for me, but for him, you know, whatever. And so they had this dish, right, and it had peas in it, you know, on the menu. And CJ told the lady, "Don't put peas in the food, whatever you do. I can't stand peas, you know, I really hate them." So lo and behold, the food turned up and it's got peas all in there and this rice thing. And he just went, CJ's very normally mild mannered, you know, he doesn't say, he just went, "Oh, peas," like that. And he just hit the table and the fucking food just flew up in the air, man. And me and Lagudi kind of looked at each other, you know, I was like, where did that come from, man? You know what I mean? And he just like freaked out. Yeah. So it was just one of them. Probably doesn't sound that funny like right now, but at the time, if you knew CJ, we were like, fucking shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Steve said you'd have a lot of great stories about those guys.
Oh, yeah. Some of them I can't even remember right now off the top of my head. Oh, yeah, that was another one. We got hold of Vern's phone because he's so dopey sometimes, you know.
Yes.
Got Vern's phone, and he was on Facebook. He was logged into his Facebook account. And we knew his like relatives on there, and we were posting stuff on there, like, you know, really like gross stuff. You know,
like, what are you like, dick pics or something?
Yeah, really sort of like, you know, I don't know. So I can't even remember what it was, to be honest.
Like writing a post or something?
Yeah, writing a post, like something really that his family would be completely embarrassed, you know. And so Vern came back and he started getting all these messages from his family. He's like, "What is this?" And he said, "Who's done this in my phone?" You know, and there were some other bands on tour with us. You know that band Immolation? Do you know Immolation? So those guys are super mellow, you know, and they wouldn't do anything like that. You know, they're really nice kids, you know. And I was like, oh, yeah, it was Bob over there from Immolation. I think I saw him going near your phone, you know. And of course, Bob would never do anything like that. And he went over to Bob and said, Bob, what did you do, my phone, man? You know, and it was just like, Bob was like, what, you know, and it was just all that kind of stuff, you know. So childish, you know, to the extreme, but, you know.
Yes. And which is the best kind of fun when you're on tour half the time.
Yeah, totally,
you know?
totally, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what's the last time I saw you? I think the last time I saw you was what, the Melvins, when you guys rolled through with the Melvins?
When you very kindly bought us that, you bought some food, I think it was, maybe Mexican food, I'd like to say, or something.
Oh,
like
that's
burritos.
right. Yeah, I think I brought you some,
Yeah, which was very
some
much
veggie
appreciated.
stuff, yeah. Right on,
Fantastic, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That was a good hang. I was happy to see you guys. I hadn't seen you in a while, and I think Shane was telling me he was sober for the first time in a while. And so,
yeah. It's been, well, he had to, man. You know, he really had to, because he had pancreatitis. You know, and when he wasn't taking care of himself, he didn't know. He just kept getting really ill on tour, and he'd had warning signs, and then all of a sudden it got to the point where his pancreas was ready to, you know, basically explodes. You know, there's been a few people who have, and he was right on the verge, you know, and basically he was so ill that they told him, look, you know, if you drink again, you're taking a risk see, people always think about it in physical terms, these things, but it's actually the chemical imbalance in your body. You know, if your pH level goes over a certain point, you're fucking dead, man. You know what I mean? That's the long and short of it, you know. So that's effectively what was on the verge of happening, you know. So, he was
he just drinking beer, or like was he hard alcohol? Was he just like,
man, he was doing all sorts, you know. Yeah, it was beer mainly, but I think he wasn't averse to hitting the harder stuff as well if he had to. And I just think it all piled up into, you know, the ways that we know it can do. And it was quite a while ago now when he actually gave up, but it's been some years now, but he really was faced with quite a serious decision, you know. And he was so ill. He was in hospital for quite a while there, and basically we had to go and do a Japanese tour without him. You know, we got somebody else to play on that tour for him, because, you know, I felt, I mean, I know you shouldn't. It's not normally the way I would go about things, but we were right on the verge of going to Japan, and me and him, like, Japan for me is a second home. You know, I spend a lot of time there besides even with the band. And Shane, I know, was so looking forward to it, and he still wanted to go. You know, he came out of hospital a couple of days. I was sort of, Shane, you're not going, man. You know, you got to recuperate. Your body's got to recover, you know, from this. And I want to go. I said, you're not going, man. Sorry, but no, it's just not going to happen. You know, so you can jump up. I mean, not that he could jump up and down at that point, but I was like, you can jump up and down about it all you want, you know, but you need to get better for us as well as yourself, you know. And so we made him stay at home, which was not good for him, you know, but we felt that it was something that needed to be done at that point. So.
Yeah, I mean, in the long run, I mean, if he was ever to get back and go into the regular you know, festivals, U.S. tours, even Japan, you know, Japan's a long flight, a lot of travel when you're in Japan. That's a rough tour.
For sure.
It's already tiring, you know. It's tiring just doing it regular because of the bullet train every day.
Yeah, but it kind of, you know, obviously I'm kind of speaking on his behalf here, you know, but I think it kind of scared him into submission. You know, he understood that there was two ways to go at this point, and one way was potentially death, you know, and the other way was recovery over a long period of time, you know. I know he was going back to the doctors quite a lot, back to the hospital, and he was having to have the tests, you know, to see that his liver and everything else was doing all right. And he was slowly but surely, he was getting the capacity back internally, you know, to safe levels, properly safe levels. Yeah. So, you know, good for him, you know, to get through.
It's pancreatitis is like, it's not filtering. Is it something to do with your the pancreas does?
Yeah, but it has a knock-on effect to everything else that's around it, you know, because obviously that your body's interconnected anyway. was certainly that part of your body, your digestive system and your filtering system. If your pancreas is affected, your liver and your kidneys can also be, very heavily affected. And I think they were quite concerned about his liver, I think, at one point. So they were just doing tests on that, and all the rest of it for quite some time. So, what, mate, at the end of the day, some people don't even get one warning with that. They can die, because it can just be
Right.
not realize that you have it. You can like abuse yourself, and it can go, and that basically poisons your body, and you're fucking dead. He was lucky; he got a warning, and then got the chance to say, right, I'm not going to fucking do this anymore, So
Yeah. That's scary. That's crazy. I'm glad he's doing better, man.
yeah,
I'm glad he's doing better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting to not to get into, crazy stuff like that right away. And maybe I'll skip to this, but it's just like so I think about Jesse too, and like that same kind of warning, thinking back to when we were we toured together in '94, and Jesse was. Shane partied hard. I mean, we all partied hard. Like I wasn't drinking as much because I started like having voice issues. That was my first tour as a singer. And even though I had toured many times as a guitar player, I didn't have to worry about saving my voice.
Sure.
I could still play guitar whether I was hungover or not. And so that was a little bit of a head. But I remember Shane was partying pretty hard on that tour.
Yeah. He did a pretty much a 20-year stint back there, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody did. I mean, like Mitch was like Mushroom Man.
Oh, Mitch, yeah. He was.
He was like, let's do what? I was like, I don't want to do mushrooms. I'm good. I got to sing tomorrow. Like, I'm going to be like, it's going to fuck me up too. Like,
that's when Mitch was on mushrooms is when he broke his foot, man. He fell off the step that normally you shouldn't break your foot falling off because it was completely out of his mind on mushrooms, man.
That's right.
But yeah, it was fucking anarchy, like the Napalm tours at that point. And while sometimes it was a fucking pain in the arse when you had to do like productive stuff, I also look back at it. I liked it, even though I wasn't doing it. I liked it because I like the chaos of it. I like the unpredictability of it. I like the chaos of it. You know what I mean? On that sort of, that's where Napalm Death comes from. It's the nature of the band. That whole scene. Right. But yeah, it got like really fucking insane at points, and it's just, with hindsight I can laugh about it, but it wasn't always completely fucking funny. If I'm totally honest,
I'm amazed. Like I can tell you right now, like I've gotten sober a couple times where I was sober for about a year and a half, and I'm going to a party, and I'm at a party for a couple of hours, and by the time like the party's like it's getting towards 11 or 12, I'm like, okay, like I'm just like everybody's shit faced, and I'm sober, and I'm like. Credit to you for dealing with that, and enjoying it, and because you were, I mean, that first tour, you were stone cold sober. You didn't have a drink.
So the thing is, man, I look at it like, everybody's different. Everybody wants different things. Everybody wants to do different things. And I don't want to impinge on somebody else's encroach, should I say, on somebody else's enjoyment. On tour. As far as I'm concerned. As long as you do the gig, if shit gets in the way of the gig, because I've always, I'm sure you're the same, I've always not demanded, because it's not for me to demand of people, but I've always expected that Napalm is 100% attack, when it goes out on stage, always, and anything that affects that, then we got to talk about it, you know what I mean? Because it's not fair, if some people are really fucking, really like making that happen, and then perhaps others aren't, So, if physically you are unable to do it, and you're doing your best to maintain a level, if you still can't do it, then I accept that, But it's like if it's to the point where you're just sloppy fucking, and I like sloppiness, we're not, we are a loose band, definitely, but when you can't. When there's like a negative effect on it in certain ways, it's not good. It's not.
Yeah. I hear you. I was doing some research on the
on you for the podcast, and I was totally surprised to hear that your very first show that you ever did with Napalm was in CBGB's.
It wasn't the first, actually. It was the
Oh,
first
it
in the
wasn't the first. Oh,
States.
okay, gotcha.
It was the
Oh,
first
gotcha. The
in,
first in the States.
yeah.
Okay.
But mate, I mean, what about that, man? Like we did a UK tour. It was just regular venues, actually quite big venues, because Napalm was pulling sometimes in the UK at that point, like 1,000, 1,200 people, at night. It was
Wow. Holy shit. Yeah.
because of the legacy of the band before, just the
Right.
interest that was
Right.
created.
Slave into
And also,
Embrilliration and Scum
yeah,
and yeah.
yeah, yeah. And also, you got to remember is that the good thing about Napalm is it has a spread across many different scenes. Like, still, like in that, you could say, I hate to pigeonhole, but in the indie rock scene, Napalm still has a strong appeal to kids that just like
Totally.
indie rock music, because they just love a lot of kids love the novelty, the noise factor, and they like the ideas that come out of the band as well, So there was that going on. But in terms of the States, yeah, I mean, fucking hell, the first American gig at CBGB's, I mean, fucking hell, I was pissing my pants, with anticipation,
Right.
And what about this, man? First gig with Prong, on the Primitive Origins,
Oh
first,
shit.
the
Wow.
first or
That's
second
cool.
album, and a band
When
called
they were
Blind Idiot God.
electronic hate.
Oh, mate, they were fucking fantastic. On Primitive Origins, it's still my favourite Prong album, Everybody can argue about that. But for me, the first Prong album, holy shit, is quality, man, And Blind Idiot God, and avant-garde noise band. Also,
Mhm.
fucking, I was like, whoa, it was like fantastic, So, yeah, that was the first one. The only downside about it was, little did we realize before we got there, the CBGB's a time scheduling policy, which was whenever it fucking happens. So we just got off a flight from New York,
Right.
mate. 4 o'clock in the morning, we went on stage, and we were completely
4 in the morning.
4 in the morning.
Oh my
I'm not
God.
joking. We were shot to fucking pieces. Like getting off the plane, jet lag.
There was people there? There was people there?
Yeah, it was full. It was full.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, mate, it was, mate, we were fucking absolutely, and let's be honest about it. The CBGB's, well, it's not really a backstage, but the whatever piece of the place you could find,
Yeah, right,
we
right.
were like in this place that stunk of fucking piss and God knows what else.
So
like,
did you just land and then go right to the venue expecting that you were going to sleep?
But then waited around. We landed, and I'd like to say, bearing in mind I can't really remember, we probably landed about 3 p.m. in the afternoon, something like that, and we had to wait till 4 o'clock the next morning to
oh shit.
it was brutal, man. It was brutal.
Yeah. Holy crap.
Yeah.
What were the shows that you did in the UK before this?
Oh, it was the Grind Crusher tour. It was the first one. It was with Bolt Thrower, Carcass, Morbid Angel. I think that was the lineup, maybe.
And that was your first tour with Napalm?
That was my first gig in Napalm.
God damn, that's a fucking stacked bit. You're headlining. Mate,
we were headlining. And the thing is that
that's some pressure. That's a lot of pressure. You're stepping into pretty big, it's a pretty big position to step.
We were young kids. I didn't give a shit. I was 19 years old. Didn't give a shit, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so, well, actually, very much related to what we were talking about previously. So, I learned my first lesson, the very first gig I did. So the very first gig I did was we played the Manchester International, which is now gone. You might have done it at some point in your gigging days, And I went on stage fucking shit-faced, I was drinking, we were talking about the tours that you were on. I was doing that on the early Napalm tours.
Really? Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
Me, Shane and Jesse were completely wankered when we went on stage, and
wankered.
Yeah. And I remember we were so all over the place. And like Mickey was sober, Mickey on the drums. He was
okay,
completely like straight edge, he was completely sober. And he got so frustrated. He picked the sticks up and he just fucking, he just threw the stick, man. And I remember the stick just flew and like hit Jesse like square in his forehead, you know. And Jesse was so fucking drunk, man. He was like cross-eyed, like looking at where the stick had hit him on the foot. Yeah, it was. Mate, we didn't care, you know. We were just like, oh, it's
Right.
fucking was like punk man, let's fucking the drunk, wasted, you know, whatever, you know. So,
Totally. But you had already done shows with Benediction, and you were
mate,
probably
only one or two. You know, I only did 2 gigs ever with Benediction. The one was with
no other bands.
Napalm.
No other bands.
No, the first one was Napalm. We were supporting Napalm SOB at a club called the Kaleidoscope in Birmingham. And then the second one was a place called Wrexham Memorial Hall, which was in Wales. You know, you've been to Wrexham before as well. Mm-hmm. That's the only 2 gigs I ever did with Benediction. You know, I think the Napalm SOB gig, I was also fucking hammered when I went on stage, and the rest of Benediction were. The second gig we did with Benediction was we were playing on, I think they set up some tables, trestle tables was the stage, and the fucking stage just completely moved apart when we were playing. So we kind of, it finished. It was like a Dwarves gig. It only lasted like 5 minutes, and then, you know, everything just fell apart, you know. So I never really did gigs to speak of, you know, in terms of the full experience, you know. So really the Napalm gigs were my first ones, you know. So
why did they, I mean, I know you were friends and you were around when they were, you know, younger, but why did they turn to you? Like, did somebody quit unexpectedly and they said, hey, can you just do this real quick for us? Or was it like a...
Yeah, so the thing is, before I joined Napalm, I was around Napalm. When the Scum album recordings were happening, I was not at the studio, but I was in the pub, you know, when the guys came in.
Okay.
After they finished like the day's recording. You know, I knew Nick, Justin, Mickey, Shane in 87, you know, 86, 87. So from the which was very often discussed, you know, I mean, people always talk about the Bay Area scene, but in Birmingham we had the Mermaid, which was the hardcore punk venue, a little bit of metal, but it was mainly hardcore punk stuff, you know. So it's everything from, well, Attitude played at the Mermaid back in the day. Yeah. And,
badass.
Like all sorts of bands, Government Issue, Conflict, fucking, you know, oh God, you name it, you know, Chumbawamba, back when they were a full-on punk band, you know, Heresy, all the UK bands, you know.
Did you catch the Attitude Adjustment show?
I did. I went to the Attitude show. Yeah. In fact,
that's killer.
The back of the Attitude sleeve.
That was Andy Anderson.
Yeah. So the back of the Attitude sleeve, the one, I forget the name of it's one with the face on the front when it was just Attitude. Yeah. So the back of that one where Andy Anderson's jumping in the air, that's Mickey from Napalm. He's standing there looking. I think it's on the backs on the front of the sleeve. He's looking because Andy Anderson is so far up in the air, you know what I mean? And Mickey's like, fucking hell, like that. You can see on his face, you know.
That's badass. That's awesome.
So it was, mate, that scene, that Mermaid, I'm sure you've got a lot of tales from back in the San Francisco days, but that scene at the Mermaid was fucking incredible. And I was really sad when it finished. And it ended in the most unfortunate way, you know. So first of all, the venue closed down, but, you know, people started shit talking, and it kind of got to that kind of backstabbing kind of thing, you know, a little bit of jealousy, you know, with bands that had, you know, started to get a bit of interest outside of, you know, and unfortunately, it disappeared, you know, a little bit, you know, so it's quite sad, you know. It's really great scene, you know. So yeah, sorry, I'm digressing a little bit, but so I knew the guys then. I actually bought the very first Napalm shirt from Mickey, the first run of about 10 or something like that. I've still got it, you know.
Shit.
So yeah. So I knew the guys basically, and me, Mickey, and Shane started hanging around together as friends, you know. And so then Lee and Bill left, you know, Lee the vocalist and Bill the guitarist left after a Japanese tour. And Mickey basically phoned me and said, oh, do you want to join the band? And I was completely shocked. I mean, I knew there was some kind of some tension in Napalm, but I didn't know it got to that point. And so they asked me to join, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And you know what, man? And this is a true story. I got so excited. I went round. I took my BMX because there was no mobile phones. You're just using telephone boxes at that point to call people. The classic red telephone box.
Yes.
Right. I got so excited. I grabbed my BMX and I rode around the corner, and I wasn't concentrating. I was so excited. I just drove straight into a post box. And I completely wiped out, man. And I was just fucking on the floor, man. Just like, honestly, that's the absolute 100% truth.
That's fucking awesome.
The weird thing about that is the post box was right next to the phone box. So I was going to the phone box to call somebody to tell them, and I drove straight into the post box. Mate, I remember it hurt so fucking badly. I was quite injured, by that. So.
Were you a big BMX guy? Was that like a thing in the UK at that point?
No, I couldn't do it, mate. If I'd have tried to do all the tricks and the stunts, I'd have I wouldn't have even been in Napalm because I'd have fucking broke my neck. You know what I mean? But
right.
Yeah, I just had a BMX for riding.
Right.
I can't say I was ever really a bike person per se, but I did have a BMX for riding around because I had no other transport at the time. I am a cyclist now. I didn't have a bike for years. I bought one, I was intending to buy one, lockdown or not. And now I do endurance cycling like every morning, which has kept me really fit, So
awesome.
So now I most definitely do. I love it. I actually this morning was the first morning I haven't been out on a weekday for weeks and weeks and weeks because we had a storm coming overnight from the sea, and it was a pretty vicious one, and I was like, you know what? If I go out this morning, I'm going to be pedaling like fuck, and I'm going to be in a headwind, and I'm going to be doing about 0.3 miles an hour, so it wasn't a fucking point, so I just didn't this morning. But ordinarily, yeah, I go out every morning, so.
How far are you going? Like, are you like 10 miles, 13 miles?
Yeah, I'll do a 10, 12 mile circuit every morning, come back, and then it starts the day, you get the endorphins and it just feels really good, man,
so no breakfast, just like get up and ride.
I literally get up at like 6 o'clock. I will have like we call them Scottish oat cakes. They're like a small oat biscuit, I'll put like peanut butter on top of that. I'll do half a banana, for the potassium and energy. I'll put them down. A small one shot of coffee, because caffeine's always good, when you're going to do stuff. Mate, helmet on, shorts on, fucking t-shirt on, straight out the door, man. Straight down to
damn.
Cycling.
Good for you, man.
Betting like fuck, man. Down to the beach where we got a fantastic cycling path here. So
that's awesome. Yeah, and then just being right next to the beach just kill it. Like you just get that energy from the water.
I'll tell you what, Rob. I have to say, it was coming from fucking Birmingham. The most landlocked place in the UK. My thing was always to the sea. It was always I'm very much a nature person. I always have been. I'm fascinated with the world around us, specifically, especially the movements of the sea. I fucking love it. And I'll go down there on storms. When we have fairly major storms, and I'll just sit and watch the ocean for fucking hours on end. I'm a fucking hippie. I'm not ashamed, never ashamed of that. I'll just watch the world. And stuff. So me moving down here was always an ambition of mine, and having lived here now for 4 or 5 years, mate, it's the best decision I ever made, no question. In terms of where I live, the best. I would never move back inland unless I had to. So.
Right, yeah, because you were living in London for a while, right?
Mate, I lived all kinds of places. I lived in London for a while. I lived in a place called Northamptonshire, which is about halfway from London and Birmingham. I lived all kinds of places, and lived on the streets for a little bit when I was like really young, but which was contrary to, what some might say was not fucking fun at all, but luckily it was only for a few days, but it was not fucking good, so yeah, I've lived tons of places, you know, and yeah, it's been interesting wherever I've lived. And you know, I have to say that a lot of times when I lived in those different places, it was because some very fucking helpful people helped to put me up, man. You know, when I was in not the best situation. So yeah, I
Yeah.
have a lot of people to thank for that. You know, I would never forget that. You know, so.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome to live that close and be able to get that, exercise in the morning. I mean, it's great to see like that you're keeping healthy during this time, and some people kind of like let themselves kind of just sink into a depression. Like, no, get out, go on a hike, do something. Like,
For
don't just
sure.
don't just look at your phone for nine
For
hours a
sure.
day.
But you know what, Rob, as you said, you know, as you kind of intimated at the start of your sentence there, it's not easy for everybody to do. If you're in places where the environment around you is a bit of a concrete jungle, perhaps, or you know, then it is hard. You know, the human psyche, it's hard to motivate
Yeah,
yourself sometimes. So I get it.
yeah,
I totally understand it. But for me, obviously, having the like you say, having the beach just around, it's a perfect opportunity. The other thing is as well, though. I mean, I I have been, you know, I have been like vegan for years, and I do health veganism as well. You know, I you can also be a vegan and eat fucking shit. You know what I mean? You can. You know,
right,
it's
right,
completely.
totally.
I'm very conscious about my diet. You know, for the past few years, you know, I'm like low salt, low sugar. You know, oil free. You know, balance
What's
everything out.
that? What was the last thing? What was the last thing you said?
Oil
Old free?
free. Yeah,
Oh,
I
oil free.
don't do
Oil
I
free.
don't
Oh,
use
wow.
oils for cooking at all. You know, so yeah, I'm always really conscious of that, and it's not because I feel that it's not like a chore to do it. I enjoy it. I get a kick out of doing it. You know, I get a kick out of eating healthy and stuff, and eating simply actually. You know, so that combined with the exercise. I mean, you know, I was pretty fit the last few years, but during lockdown, I've dropped like a trouser size easy, you know, and more, you know. And like my mum saw me for the first time the other day for months, and she was like, "Shit," you know. She was like, "Are you okay? You know, are you healthy? You know, and are you losing too much weight?" You know, I was like, "Mum, I'm fine. I feel great. You
So
know,
you're losing
feel
weight
happy."
in lockdown? That's crazy.
Yeah, totally.
That's
100. Yeah, I lost the trouser size in lockdown. You know,
Is it
and
because you're exercising more because of lockdown or
yeah,
just
because I've been
okay, yeah, yeah.
obviously that right on my doorstep. I'm out every day, man. I go out 6 days a week except for Sundays. Sundays I'll have, you know, I'll just won't set my alarm, but I set my alarm every morning, you know, 6:30, and I get out, you know, and definitely, you know.
That's
So it's
awesome. Yeah, that's
yeah.
killer.
And the thing is, man, I could see it coming. I could see what was going to happen during this lockdown. There's always a temptation to, you know what, I've got to stay at home, so I'll go to the fridge and I'll get, you know, whatever sweets and stuff like that. You could do it the same if you're vegan. You know, there's all kinds of options to eat,
Oh yeah,
like
totally.
sugar and calories
Fake
and all the
cheese
rest of
and
it.
fake desserts and yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
exactly. You know, and I don't do that stuff to the fake meats and stuff like that. I'll do it once in a while as a treat. You know, I use like beans, pulses, you know, whole wheat stuff. You know, all that kind of legumes, all that stuff. That's where I am. You know, with the way I eat and stuff. So the fake meat is a couple of times a week and small parts of it. You know. So that's how I do things, you know, at the moment, and you know, it works for me. You know, I can't say it'd be for everybody, but it's my intention to stay healthy. You know, you know, we we are we're getting up there in years now, you know, and I think whilst you can never legislate for horrible diseases, you know, you can at least try and minimise your chances of having a fucking heart attack, stroke, diabetes, etc., etc., etc. So that's a motivation for me. You know, I really want to, you know, stay like this way. You know, so
You do the tofu or you just stick
sometimes,
more to like the whole yeah, but you stick more to like
yeah,
the whole
yeah, I
beans and
stick more
legumes.
to like
Yeah.
the beans, the legumes, the you know the whole wheat pastas, brown rice. You know, all that kind of stuff. That's my thing, really. You know, but yeah, I will do some tofu. once in a while for like a protein boost. But I also do like raw hemp, the protein powder, which is good because it's not. Yeah, like a lot of the even the vegan protein powders sometimes can be full of sugar and flavorings and stuff like that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So I don't do any of that. I just do the raw protein hemp powder, which is literally just raw hemp. That's it. You know what I mean? There's no additives in there, no sugars, no nothing. It's just literally raw hemp powder. So I do after.
And what are you mixing it with though? Like that shit tastes like sawdust.
I'll just do it and hold the
That's
nose.
it.
Man. Yeah, just water.
Wow.
I'll do it in
Good
100
for you. That's
like
hardcore.
that much water, 2 scoops of the raw protein powder. And mate,
Okay.
I'll just fucking bomb it, you know what I mean? And I'll just do it. And I'll make sure every piece of powder that sticks to the glass, I'll put some more water in there and I'll just fucking get it down, man. Yeah.
Good for you, because that shit tastes like. I mean, I've had it. I had to try it. I was like, I'll try it. I'll jam on this. Yeah. It's kind of sawdusty, a little sawdusty.
I'm good with eating stuff like that, though. I mean, Lagudi will tell you, I'll drink bottles of hot sauce and everything, man. You know what I mean? So anything that's nasty, man, I'll put it down, for days, right, definitely,
right. Yeah, good deal. Good for you, man. I went vegan I did 3 months. I found it very hard on the road. I was trying to do it.
I understand.
At home. Yeah, on the road, oh my God, I felt like I was just like, my body has a crazy reaction to tofu, so like I can't have like all the beans and everything. Just it crushed me. Like I was in fucking agony on stage. Oh,
you got like the kind of churning stomach cramps and stuff like that.
Dude,
did you get all that stuff?
I mean, like just I never fart on stage ever. And the whole time I was vegan, I did a whole tour of vegan. And I mean, I'd go to sing something and I'd squeeze my stomach and a fart would literally rip my asshole. It was like, mate, Jesus, like fucking pain.
Mate, you should try being on stage with Shane. Oh my God. Well, the good deal. Right. Oh my God. Yeah.
Is he ripping him hard? He ain't vegan though. He ain't vegan.
I mean, he's like crop dusted, like people in the clubs, right up to the stage. He's done, and you could see people's faces like this, and he's got back to Danny as well on the drums, man. And I'm looking at him, and I'm going, "What the fuck?" Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
Shane's
going
not,
back to
he's not vegan though. Shane's not vegan though, right? Shane isn't vegan.
No. But yeah, no,
beer and cocaine farts.
Yeah, he doesn't do that now either. He had to stop all that with the booze, But I mean, just going back to the thing, see, yeah, I do it for help, but my first and foremost, my thing was always because of the ideas. I mean, you know me well enough. I was always, animal liberation. I was always
the animal liberation.
That was always. I feel that, and I know everybody doesn't agree with this, but I feel that like human beings are so arrogant, in that they feel that they can manipulate animals to their own ends when animals were actually here before us, and sometimes we just kind of, because we don't communicate on a direct level, we just assume that they're ours to do with as we wish. And I completely just don't find that to be logical, rational, or humane, or any of that stuff, for me personally, so I've always felt that way, since I became aware of it at 14, having watched a video of an abattoir at school, and my perspective hasn't changed on that, So.
You watched the video of what? An abattoir? I saw
a video of an abattoir, slaughterhouse.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, that's what an abattoir is.
Yeah. And it was, I said, I went straight home to my mum and said, Mum, I don't want anything to do with this anymore. And of course, at the time, back then, she was like, what are you talking about? It's like, I want to stop eating meat. She's like, what? Sorry? What? How? Because even in the UK, the home of vegetarianism, at that point, it was not really, it was a very niche thing, it was like not. But over time, my mum came around to the idea. And then from then on, I stopped wearing leather, stopped using any animal products in anything, always took consideration of where I bought things from. If they were, involved in animal exploitation or whatever, I would not buy any stuff from them. So yeah, always been that way, And again, that's not. I just want to make that point. It's not to put myself on a pedestal. I don't give a shit about that. It's about the end result. It's about the liberation of animals. It's not about me or what. Or yeah, look at me, look at what I'm doing. It's not about that at all. And I just want to make that clear. It's for me. It's always about the end game. You know what I mean? So I would never beat people with a stick about it. I think people should always be educated about where their food comes from, and they should be aware of how animals are treated in not only in production situations but also in testing of products, which still goes on. Even in this day and age, people should be aware of that. But I don't beat people with a stick about it, because I think if you really do that with a lot of people, they will turn the other way. If they were going towards the end game, they might come back, and I think that's not a good situation, so.
It's good for you to speak out on it, for sure. Especially, you've done it for a long time. You believe in it. It's what you believe and it's the essence of who you are. In some ways, that essence has transcended into Napalm Death as well.
Yeah.
and
Well,
I think that, I think sometimes all it takes is just, you say it enough times and sure, maybe some people are turned off, and then maybe that one time they hear it, that was the one time that they go down that route and try it and see if that's for them. And maybe that's the way that they go, maybe that is the way to go.
Sure. I mean, and that goes generally for Napalm. We put the ideas on the table. We can't expect everybody to agree with them, but at least if people chew them over, that would be really fucking nice if people would do that, but then I also appreciate that people come in sometimes just for the music, and whilst they might have a curiosity about the lyrics, they kind of don't want to get involved in it, aside from a casual sort of connection with it, and that's the way life is. Music is a free medium. The perception of music and the way you approach it is part of that freedom as well. It allows you to interpret it in whichever way you might wish to. You know what I mean? Which is why I've always respected people's perspectives on Napalm, positive or negative. If people said some really that far negative on the scale of things about Napalm, I'd still shake their hand. I completely respect people's opinions, and I think it's important to have that, because otherwise it leaves you with a realization of where you are, as a band, and then you can learn stuff from that, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, my wife was vegetarian when I met her, and then she's not now, and then I've gone through vegetarian vegan phases, and I tried it and I did it, and I'm glad I did it. I went fully down the road and did it for a while. I think the movie that I saw that really just shook me more than probably anything, I saw that movie Earthlings, and a buddy of mine had been telling me to see it, and I was just like, I wasn't in the headspace to see it. And then just one day, my family was away and I was having some health issues, and I was like, oh, I'll watch this movie, and holy fuck, man, it just I was rattled after watching that. I was shook. Yeah. And it was seriously fucking, I think that when, because here in America, all of that stuff is illegal. It's illegal to see, it's illegal to film that stuff. It's illegal to release that stuff. So you don't really see a lot of that stuff. It's all there's extreme fines for it. And really, the meat industry has really clamped down on that type of shit. And just seeing
that's
it, obviously
that's insane. Because why should it be that industries should dictate, the way, the public perceive stuff and the transparency? I mean, that's corrupt. That's corrupt as fuck, man. You know what I mean? It really is.
Yeah. And so seeing that and seeing the leather thing and seeing the whole, that scene where they're killing all the dolphins in Japan, I was like, Jesus Christ. I was just I was not it's such an intense movie. And, it's narrated by Joaquin Phoenix, Joker, Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah. And it's just, I mean, it was a powerful statement, and it had a huge effect on me. And, I still do eat meat. I eat vegetarian meals as well. And, but I still do eat meat. And but it had, it totally changed my perception about so much stuff and the way stuff goes on.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
highly, if nobody's seen that movie, I highly recommend it. Just prepare yourself and be in the right headspace for it because
Sure,
it's
sure, sure, sure. I mean, the
shocking.
thing is, yeah, the thing is that people have said to me about it, oh, there'll come a point in your life where you reassess the situation. It's like, I won't. And I know I won't, and people say, oh, yeah, you will. No, I won't, because, when I set out on that path, at first you're like, yeah, I'm going to do it and see how it goes. But then when you understand why you're doing it, you understand that that kind of principle for me is set in stone. It's non-negotiable within myself. You know what I mean? I would feel, I know this might sound a bit melodramatic to some people, but I would feel like a traitor to those sentient beings. I would feel I've betrayed those sentient beings, that I always did what I did to to move towards the liberation of them. You know what I mean? I would feel like I'd betrayed them, you know what I mean? And it would crush. I mean, I don't believe in a soul, actually, but just figuratively speaking, it would crush my fucking soul, to its very core. It's one of the fundamentals of my life and me as a human being, even though I don't do it for me internally, it's fundamental to my very being. It's like waking up in the morning to me. You know what I mean? It's just one of the steadfast things for me in my life. And I would, for that reason, I would never go back to eating. There's no reason for me to. It has no appeal to me. It just doesn't in any way, shape, or form. It really doesn't.
Are your parents still alive? Your dad and your mom?
Yeah, both my mom and dad's still alive, just
Did
about. Yeah.
did they? What did they think about? I mean, I would imagine
Rob,
your family.
Rob, can you excuse me for just 1 second? There's something beeping.
Yep. I was saying, I wonder. I was asking about your parents. If you're, I'm assuming your parents were like typical kind of like meat and potatoes, Protestant Catholic UK or whatever. I don't even know what the religion would be like. Like a very traditional.
Well,
No.
the both came from my mum came from a Catholic family. My dad, the default setting is like Protestant Church of England, but they both hate religion. Both of my parents, they both think it's full of shit.
Wow,
You know
crazy.
what I mean? So yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah.
That's what I was going to ask about. Like, what did they think about when you became like, I don't believe in a soul and I'm a vegan now? And like, what was your?
Well, see, don't get my mum started on the Catholic Church, because that would be a show all in itself. You know what I mean? I mean, my mum basically, my grandfather, my granddad was very Catholic. A very, very, very gentle, kind man. But was very, very Catholic. My mum was sent to Catholic schools naturally, because that's where my granddad wanted her. And my mum was terrorized at school by nuns, and
Wow.
went through that sort of typical thing you hear about,
Right.
the exposés on the Catholic school. My mum went through that. And my mum walked out of that school the day she got out of there and said, gave him a middle finger and said, fuck you, you know what I mean? Yeah, totally.
Shit. Wow.
My mum thinks it's a crock of shit. She said all this God stuff. It's like it's really funny because we'll be watching something in the US, and obviously it's particularly religious, especially through, I think in Congress or the House of Representatives, unless you express a religious affiliation, you're almost like an alien. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and
yeah.
my mum's just laughing, just going, "What is wrong with those people, man?" You know what I mean? And my dad just thinks they're just idiotic. He just thinks believing in a little man in the sky, and all the rest of it, whatever denomination, he just thinks it's batshit crazy. So yeah.
That's awesome to hear. I mean, that's interesting to hear too. I just don't. You don't meet a lot of parents like that. So many parents are very religious. My mom's total born again wacko.
But mate, don't forget, over here it's a different thing over here, because I mean, I know just to illustrate it, but through the parliament, somebody once said in Parliament, which is quite true, although I'm quite cynical about politics in general, but they said, we don't do religion here, speaking for the whole of Parliament. And it's that's actually quite accurate. That is one good thing about the Parliament over it, is religion is kept right out of it. You know what I mean? They do swear on the Bible, but you don't have to. You can take, as far as I understand it, you can take an alternative. Because I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't swear on the Bible. Someone asked me to swear. Well, why would I do that? Because if you're asking me to tell you the truth and swear on a Bible, which is something that I completely don't hold any faith in, then you're actually not trusting my ability to tell the truth, because I'm not going to if I'm swearing on a Bible. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, that's interesting. That is interesting. You know, your brother, your family didn't care, like, if you went vegan, like, just, it was like,
oh no, my mom.
They make you something when you come over for Christmas. You'll have something else. They'll make you something else.
Here's the thing: my mom's always wanted to be vegetarian, you know, but she's just never managed to get over the thing, because my mom is like animal crazy, you know, in terms of the protection of animals and stuff.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But she's just never managed to get over to stop eating meat, you know. I don't know why she didn't do it, because she's so hardcore, like animal protection and stuff. And I always tried to encourage her, you know, but she just never quite reached that point, you know. But my dad, no, I mean, my dad eats all this traditional stuff. We get this thing in England, especially around the West Midlands, the Birmingham area, called dripping. So basically what dripping is, it's the pork, when the pig gets killed, it's like the juices that come off a pig when it gets killed. So it's like congealed fat, basically.
Yeah.
In a container. And my dad like spreads that on toast, you know. I mean, it's fucking horrible, you know. It's just the whole thing, you know. It's just, you know, beyond. It's at some point, I would
imagine your dad must have gave that to you, though, at some point. Like, hey, have some drippings, Barney.
When I was a little kid, yeah, before I knew better, you know. But obviously, I see it in the fridge sometimes when I go around to mum and dad's. I'm like, are you still eating this crap? Like, you know what I mean?
That's funny, man.
Yeah.
Let's go back to So you do the first 5 or 6 shows, tour dates with Napalm.
Yeah.
And you're playing 1,000-seaters, like, right off the bat.
In the UK. Yeah.
In the
when
UK.
We got to
in
Europe,
the UK.
It was a little smaller, you know, but yeah.
Yeah, but you guys had a buzz. I mean, the band has already been to Japan based on, you know, just the EP and the Enslavement, right?
Well, we didn't go to Japan in my years in Napalm until 97.
Oh,
okay. There was a long gap between when Lee and Bill went in 89 and 97 when I went with Napalm, you know. So it was a long time. But yeah, straight after that UK tour, we went out to Europe and we did. God, I mean, I wouldn't even like to tell you. It was one of the
with the same lineup, Bolt Thrower.
No. It was a German band called Protector, really old band, and I think Morbid Angel. It was us and Morbid Angel, Protector, and somebody else. I can't remember exactly.
Bill was already in Carcass when you guys when they were doing the shows with you. So that must have been cool, because like that was kind of like a friend already.
Well, don't forget Bill was in Carcass at the same time as he was in Napalm. Because
gotcha.
The first Carcass demo was 86, 87. So Bill was in Napalm at that time, you know, 87, 88, Bill joined. So actually Carcass was before Napalm. And then Bill joined Carcass, was in Carcass and Napalm at the same time, left Napalm in 89 and went to concentrate on Carcass, you know. So it's a funny old, like, you know, up and down, backwards and forwards story.
Incestuous, you know? An incestuous scene.
Yeah, incestuous, yeah. I mean, but the thing is that, I mean, just to say as well, although you haven't asked it in your question, but, you know, people always ask us, oh, you know, any angst with those 4 members? For me personally, never. You know, Lee, the former vocalist, I always considered like a really good friend. And Bill, I always considered a really good friend. I knew both Lee and Bill, you know, before I joined the band. And again, lovely people, you know, and I love them to bits, you know, and I still do. And, you know, I never felt any differently, you know.
Yeah. I mean, what a cool I always think, too, like I'm in my mind, I'm drawing a parallel to the Bay Area scene and how, there was so many little cogs in the, there's so many bands that connected to so many other bands that made, whatever band become what they did, like,
Yeah,
because there was so much music and you're getting inspired by so many different things. And, there was a hell of a like punk, that crossover. I don't even know what to call it. Like the
yeah.
beginning
Well,
of
you had the Dead
grindcore.
Kennedys, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we had Dead Kennedys, we had Attitude Adjustment, we had Metallica, Exodus, Slayer, Possess. We had the early,
Yeah,
death metal. What I consider one of
yeah,
the early death metal bands,
yeah,
Possess.
definitely.
With
You
Seven
definitely
Churches and
proto death metal.
yeah. And it's like how many bands came out, and then it was in such a short amount of time too. Like it's if you think about it, like in a lot of ways the Bay Area scene that exploded, and maybe you could say the same thing about the Birmingham hardcore scene or punk scene or grind scene,
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it. It was like 3 years. You know what I mean? Like, and in that 3 years, just a fucking crazy amount of music and bands and inspiration and music came out of it that was just insane.
yeah, definitely. I mean, like I say, I tried to run through a list of bands earlier on who I saw at the Mermaid. No, I can't remember. There was so much of it, I just can't remember. But like international bands coming in, and God, there was all sorts happening, and I made some like really good friends, like Liverpool used to have a great club as well called the Planet X. That was like the punk hardcore club. So I used to go up there all the time because I had friends up there. So we used to stay with this one guy called Peck, who's unfortunately now passed away, But we used to stay at his flat for like 4 or 5 days and live on this. He used to make this. We'd roll up, and he'd pre-made this big pot of lentil stew, and we'd just eat lentil stew for 5 days, man. I mean, you were talking about the anal gas earlier on. I mean, we're talking, mate. We were blowing each other around the flat, man. It was like fucking wacky races, like suspended in the air, man.
And Shane was out doing them all.
Oh well, yeah. Shane wasn't actually around. I think he might have been to PEX once, but I used to go there with Jimmy, who was actually the bass player on the B side of the Scum album. So it was me and Jimmy, an old friend of mine called Zoss, who was around back in the day. Yeah, we always used to go up there and stay, and go to gigs at the Planet X and stuff. It was, mate, it was great times. I'm sure you've got times when you think back, and I've always had this thing in my mind: you should always look forwards rather than go backwards. But all the same, man, some of those days were so special. It was my formative years, and those days were so special to me. And I'm so sad that they ended, like they did. Not necessarily in a negative way, but that they just ended. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I miss it. It's sometimes you could fucking cry. When you think back to some of the times, you think I'm never going to be able to recreate that again. Those moments.
I mean, there may never a way to. I mean, it was
Yeah,
such a. In some ways, there was a lawlessness to it. Like you'd go to a club. This is the days before security. This is before barricades. This is before, like you just went in and it was just, like I say this a lot, but it's like you just had to know the wolves from the sheep, and you had to figure it out real quick. Or you'd
mate.
get your
I
ass
remember,
beat.
yeah, mate. I remember, and again, I'm not romanticizing this or glorifying this, but I remember fighting with boneheads, with Nazi skinheads at like
Yeah.
a couple of gigs, which carried on into the later years on our first US tour, but that's another story, But I remember fighting these fucking people, and again, I'm not romanticizing it because it's fucking horrible, having to engage in that stuff, But all that stuff
No,
was happening
we
at the
hated
time.
those fuck. We hated those fucks.
Yeah,
We hated them. We were like, fuck
yeah,
these people.
yeah,
Like,
and it's because they were just fucking bullies or attempting to be bullies, you know what I mean? And I was just fucking having none of it, you know what I mean? But I don't like fighting, like that. It's like it's not what I want to be doing. But it was the real deal, It was all that stuff was going. I mean, I remember staying at Peck's flat, and there were like people like I'm not being demeaning to them at all, because I wouldn't want to. I don't look at people this way, but there were like people who were like addicted to heroin, like kicking in doors and stuff like that in the building that he lived in, you know what I mean, and breaking into the apartments where people lived, you know, and it was pretty wild. Right. And you just kind of walk past them, like look at them and go, oh, okay, you know what I mean, and then just walk right into the flat, you know, and it was anarchy. To a certain extent, proper like anarchy and stuff, you know.
Yeah. What was tell me about what was the first tour like? Tell me about the first tour. You know, you start off your US tour in CBGBs, which is, you know, probably, you know, maybe at that point in your life, maybe one of the biggest accomplishments. I mean, I know when I played there, it was like fucking, I felt like I had, you know, it was a huge major accomplishment.
Yeah, mate, like I say, I was fucking creaming in my underwear, man. You know, that day, you know, all the bands I was thinking of that had been through, you know, Bad Brains and, you know, Cro-Mags and Early Days, and, you know, the Krauts and Warzone and all them bands, you know. And it was. I've been in America. It's the first time I'd ever been on a plane. You know, that was the other thing. You know, and it was just really wild. You know, I remember being outside CBGB's and looking at the street, and it was like 6 lanes of traffic, and wasn't even like a highway or a motorway. And I was like, how does this road even exist? You know, we're like coming from England. You know, like we always had this stereotype in our brains when we grew up in the UK. We always thought of Texas, you know, and we thought, everything's always bigger in the States than it is in the UK. So we were looking at the roads. This is 6 fucking lanes, you know. How is this road even existing, you know? So it's all them little small things.
And this is 91? Is this like
no, 90, mate, this is 89.
89. Okay.
Yeah, 89. Yeah.
And this is when Alphabet City, this is when, you know, it's rough. CBGB's is in a rough fucking part of town.
Mate,
like, now it's kind of been gentrified, but if you went there back then, it was fucking nuts.
Oh, yeah, mate, totally. But, you know, we didn't give a shit, you know. I didn't give a shit, you know, and it's always been my thing, you know. You can go into places of town that are a little bit tricky, but people are people to me, man, you know what I mean? And I've never looked upon people as lesser in those parts of town, you know. I mean, I understand. I mean, you start to get an understanding of why those places are like they are, you know, because they've been left behind, you know. I mean, that's it, you know. They don't, unfortunately, have the access to the same facilities that other people do, you know. That's the long and short of it, you know. And so therefore I realised that you've got to keep your wits about you, you know, when you go certain places. But I certainly wouldn't demean, you know, those parts of town, you know, because they are much like they are the same as me, you know, flesh and blood, you know, the people that have to live there. And I just I feel.
Where did that tour take you? Where did that tour take you? Like, did it go went all across the whole U.S. and went across the whole U.S.?
Yeah. I mean, it was 6-7 weeks.
Is this like is this an earache tour or something?
It might have been. I see. I obviously my mind is a little bit hazy now into what we did and when we did it, you know. But I like one of the early tours was with Brutal Truth and Cathedral and maybe Nocturnus in the States. Do you remember that band, Nocturnus? And Godflesh. Godflesh.
That's the first time I saw you guys, was Napalm
Godflesh and Nocturnus. And I think that might have been it, actually. Maybe. And
Godflesh was on Street Cleaner.
Yeah, I mean, Godflesh, that was fucking immense, you know.
It was amazing. I was fucking, dude, it was so fucking, I just remember a shit ton of fog. You couldn't even say, it was not like it covered up the drummer because there was just a drum machine or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Well, God, it was so fucking heavy.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, they were big on kind of with the smoke, you know, and they just making themselves anonymous, you know what I mean? And you know, the Swans type thing, you know, which was complete faceless brutality kind of thing, you know, that was kind of their thing, you know. But
it pummeled you guys played the Omni in Oakland, and that I remember that show. It fucking Godflesh pummeled me. I was just fucking blown away by how slow and heavy it was.
You know the after story about that. Me and you might have spoken about this before, but so we had, because the bouncers are fucking with people, you know, and so we were like, of course, we were like, what are you doing? You know, it's leave these kids alone, you know. It's like, and they got really agitated, the bouncers did.
Yeah.
And as we were on our way out of the Omni, they formed like an archway and they fucking beat us as we were going through.
No shit.
Mate, I'm not joking.
I was going to bring this up because I remember that show. You guys were on fucking fire. Like, and your drummer, I think it was Mickey, was the original guy.
Yeah.
Like, he was on the fucking mic, like, just going off and fucking
hell.
He was fucking pissed. Fuck you, motherfuckers. Stop. And I was like, holy shit. Mate. And it just fucking made the crowd crazy. I mean, the fucking crowd was in a frenzy. But I didn't know. That's crazy. I didn't know that. I don't remember about that. The after thing.
As we went out, we were carrying stuff on the way out, and they were fucking punching us as we were going out. I mean, I took about 4 or 5 in the head. I mean, those are big fucking guys, man. You know, and they were just
the Omni had gnarly dudes.
Yeah.
They had our back. But yeah, you definitely didn't want to get on the wrong side of them.
Yeah, they didn't appreciate our appeals for, you know, better treatment of the people that were in attendance, shall we say? Yeah.
Right. Well, it was definitely it wasn't a calm appeal. Let's say that.
Well, Mickey, you know, Mickey only
he could whip him up. That's for sure.
Right? Yeah, Mickey only did one level of, you know, and it was like that level. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, it was awesome though. I mean, like, I gotta say, as a spectator who was just watching a concert, it was thrilling. Like, it was fucking thrilling. You know, like it was awesome. And
see, for us, mate, it was the naivety of the early days of a band. You know, it was. You know, I know this is maybe a lazy term to use, but it was a punk. We were unadulterated, didn't give a shit, you know what I mean? We were like, fucking, let's just, every day would just be like, right then, right, fucking hell, just fucking go, you know what I mean? And that was just it, you know, full on attack, you know what I mean? That's all we wanted to do, you know? And hopefully, I think now that has carried over to now, you know, in terms of when Napalm plays, you know. I like to think we've still got that. You know, I hope so, you know.
Yeah, the thrill.
Definitely. Yeah. I never, mate, Napalm for me, and I never wanted, you know, if it ever became a 50% band in terms of how we approach it, I'm just not interested. I'd rather not inflict that on people, and I'd rather stay at home. You know what I mean? If I know in my heart I've only got 50% application in me when it comes to playing gigs or recording albums, I don't want to do it. I'm not interested in doing that. You know what I mean? For me, that's like complete waste of time. You know?
Yeah, I don't think it'll get. I mean, at this point, after all these years, like, you know, like, this is it. You're a lifer. You know,
yeah, probably. I hope so, man. I hope so. I never. You know that thing as well when. I also, you hear it from some bands sometimes, and they just go, "Well, you know, I'm like such and such an age now, and you know, it's realistically, you know, it's going to be a few more." I'm like, man, don't say that to yourself, man. You know, if you want to carry on, just do it, man. Just do it and see how it goes. You know, and then for me, I feel fucking great. You know what I mean? And I'm ready to go, man. You know what I mean? And well, you know, I'd if I was to go on stage right now, I'd just fucking tear into it, man, like I always have, and I wouldn't think any differently, you know. So,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, and that's not going to happen for a while, but you know, well, you know, when it does, it'll be that much sweeter, you know.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to gigging again, actually, you know, but whenever that might be.
I remember when we signed with Roadrunner, and then we were getting ready. We're like, hey, we want to go on tour. Records coming out, and I was stoked to, you know, when I heard that we were going out with you guys and Obituary, and we had met. I can't remember if you were there, but I think it was Shane and Mitch had come to when I was in Violence. They had come to a Violence show with Tony Costanza, who was in Pap Smear,
That's
and
right, because
eventually
Tony was
later became my drummer. Yeah, and we hung out, and I was just like, "Fuck, these guys are super cool." We raged that night and had a good time. This was probably right after, a year or so after your show with Godflesh, and so stoked. And then, it's just like, oh my God, we're going to Napalm wants to share a bus with you guys. I was just like, sweet. Like, we don't got to drive a van. Oh, that's fucking awesome. Cause I was, after all the van tours with Violence, I was like, I don't want to ever do another van tour again. And so, it was funny because Chris and I had obviously done like pretty roughing it tours. Chris had done squat tours with Attitude Adjustment. I had done, nothing but band tours with Violence. But Logan and Adam, that was actually their first tour ever. Like Machine Head was their first band ever. So right off the bat, they're in a bus.
Sure, mate.
Which is pretty glamorous.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we still do van tours. I drive. When we're out in Europe and stuff. So everybody's different, but I kind of like it sometimes. I think it gives you a sense of purpose, if you're in a band sometimes. I mean, me in Europe, I'll think nothing of doing 12-hour drives, and then play. Yeah, mate, I love it. You know what I mean? I still like doing it. But yeah, I know what you mean. Shane, he gets a bit antsy, like sitting in the back there with his legs and stuff. But it's I don't mind it so much. But on that tour, I hope you guys walked away. I think you did. The thing is, man, we have newer bands with us on tour a lot of time, and my attitude always is, you know what? If I was in their position, I wouldn't want to be treated like a piece of shit, you know what I mean? As can happen sometimes, So we always, whoever it is, whether it's Machine Head or somebody else, we always want to make them feel the most welcome. There's no fucking bullshit, you know what I mean? And hopefully you guys walked away from that first tour, with that sense of.
No, yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, because I think you and Obituary were flip-flopping, right?
Yeah.
Like you guys closed different nights. And so I mean, it was great. I remember it was a rough crowd, for sure, for us to come out. We weren't as brutal as either of you guys. So and then we had a little bit of singing here and there. Like we were doing Nation on Fire, which is like soft vocals and, even old and stuff like that. And I remember as soon as I started singing, dudes would be like what? And I was like, just let's wait till the next part. The next part's going to get you.
Sure. Yeah.
But, in so many ways, it was just that's what we needed. We needed to go out there and play in front of a fucking tough crowd and fucking earn our stripes. And fucking earn it and, win them over or not win them over. There was plenty of nights when we didn't win them over. So it's like, you go through that and you learn what you got to learn to get through those, and there was some crazy, I remember there was some fucking pretty violent, like we got, they hated us in Denver. I remember there was some beef in Phoenix with the fucking skinheads and all this shit. So,
yeah. Phoenix was Arizona was always a place where they were always going to show up. There's certain areas, Yes. Arizona had quite a nasty scene down there actually for quite some years,
It did, man. So there was that. And then, then there was this New York was amazing, and then I can't remember where we went through Texas and we went through a few other places. And I remember the tour ended on the East Coast, and then I think Obituary dropped off, and we played a few more shows with you guys. And then we ended the tour, I want to say in Rhode Island or something.
Yeah. That's Club Babyhead, I think.
Yes. We did that. And I can't remember.
Wasn't that the night when we put some stuff on Constancy Snare? Something happened. I can't remember exactly.
Like flour or something on his snare.
Yeah, there's something.
And I think Shane got mustard in his pickups or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think I came across the stage naked, but I had a guitar.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All the usual stuff. Yeah.
All the good stuff. It was a very fun tour. I mean, I remember bonding with you guys, and for me, one of the biggest memories I have was that I remember we were driving through Texas and the fucking air conditioning broke, and it was fucking August, and we're all just like in our underwear in the front lounge, like, fuck, this is fucking hot.
Didn't we switch over and get a school bus or something at that point? Didn't we switch onto a school bus? It was like an old yellow school bus. Yeah.
Something happened. I can't, like, it's a little hazy, but I just remember being like, oh my fucking God.
Yeah, we were all in our underwear, just like in our,
all of us in our underwear.
Yeah.
Like 15 dudes in their underwear. Like, I was trying to remember the crew. We had Mike Scum. I think we had Mike Scum with us.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only crew person we had with us, right?
That was it. Yeah.
I thought we just had Mike.
Didn't he get left somewhere, or he got lost and we left him somewhere, or
I think
somewhere
we might have oil
Midwest?
spotted Mike. I think we oil spotted Adam too at one point.
Yeah.
They'd jump off the bus and go smoke weed somewhere, and they're like, oh, okay, man. Later.
Yeah, I mean, with Mitch as well, they were tripping, fucking, like fucking stoned, just,
my God, so much fucking weed and cigarette. Everybody smoking cigarettes and shit.
Yeah.
You'd walk onto the bus and it'd just be like, you'd walk into a fucking all this smoke everywhere. Yeah. Good times. It was good cool. Times.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
I do remember Jesse being a very Jesse was a really intense dude, and I wasn't drinking that much. I had started losing my voice. I want to say like 5 shows in, I started losing my heavy voice, which I was freaked out about because I thought if I was going to lose any voice, I'd lose my clean singing voice. Which I didn't care about because I'm playing in front of a fucking grindcore death metal crowd. Who cares if I lose my singing voice? But I started losing my heavy voice. So I remember I started taking Billy from Biohazard mailed me a cassette of his vocal warm up, and I started doing that, and that ended up kind of saving me. I mean, he's like, dude, you got to chill on drinking. Like, you can't be drinking like you're doing, or you're just not going to get through this tour. And so I stayed relatively sober for the rest of the tour, except for a couple nights. And then, but I remember Jesse was just like, he was like I really liked him, but some nights he would just be super drunk and he would just like have a conversation with you and be so fucking intense the entire time for like an hour.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude. Like fucking,
Yeah, it did. He was I mean, mate, by that time he was pretty much full on alcoholic, most likely. And it was, it took his mind in certain directions, I want to say, I don't really want to judge him and say the negative, but it's just things do open up your mind, when you're substances or drink or anything like that. So he got into some actually pretty interesting stuff along the way, but it did get pretty intense, and that was kind of, I don't exactly remember when he started to kind of go beyond that and start disappearing and stuff like that, which was always interesting. But yeah, he was.
What do you mean?
So we had a couple of recordings a little bit later on, and he just disappeared out of the country completely when we were supposed to be recording and stuff. Yeah, that's part. It all led up to a point where we had to let him go for a bit, or rather let him go back to Los Angeles and to be with his family and hopefully get himself, straightened out. Unfortunately, it didn't work in the end with the obvious end result, but he got really intense. And it's a weird one looking back at it, because he made his choices, definitely. Jesse was always his own person, and I admired him for that. Unfortunately, some of the choices killed him, and I do miss him, I miss him. He was fucking annoying sometimes, but he was also a great, he was a great guy, and I do miss him. It was inevitable when he died. I just thought I missed him, man. You know what I mean? Definitely. So even though he'd been out of the band for a few years, at that point.
Yeah, he'd been out of the band for a few years when all that happened, right?
Yeah, we just heard, basically. We were on tour and we were maybe flying back from somewhere, and Shane, I think, might have threw that he died, and we didn't find out the facts until afterwards, So I remember getting home, walking through the door, and then the realization kind of hit me a little bit harder, and I just kind of cried for a while, you know, and got it out of me, you know what I mean? And after that, I was quite philosophical about it, you know, but yeah, you know, Jesse, you know, he took his path, and then before he got heavily into the alcohol, you know, he was a good guy after that, but before it, he was also like just a good person, you know, and it was sad to hear that he left, you know, that he passed away, you know, but
was it? I mean, it was alcohol related.
yeah, I mean, you know, as far as we know, it was that basically killed him. Literally, his body just was poisoned. You know, much like we were talking about earlier on. When you levels of certain, when you have an imbalance in your body, people always think in the physical terms. Oh yeah, your liver just disintegrated or his kidneys, but actually, it's the chemical change. That's what can set you on a path to the point of no return, basically. So, you know, without going into the exact details of it, basically, Jesse's body just turned toxic and to the point of no return. And I think when they found him, they took him, obviously rushed him to hospital, but he was effectively brain dead as far as I understand it, you know, so.
Wow. That's sad, man.
Yeah.
Was that a pretty big wake up call for Shane?
No, because I think sometimes if you see, I think it's fair to say that Shane didn't realise what he was doing to himself, even though he was feeling ill intermittently. You know, a lot of people who just want to, you know, that you don't realise. I don't think it's all right to say it with hindsight, but you don't realise necessarily at the time the damage that you're doing, because if you can't see it on the outside, if you can't see inside yourself, then you're not necessarily going to know. You know what I mean? So it didn't actually kick Shane into gear. You know, I think he thought, oh well, it's not me. It's not going to happen to me, which is a perfectly understandable mindset, because I think a lot of people probably go through that. You know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I remember hearing about that and just being like, wow, like I was bummed.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it was rough, you know. And his family, Jesse's family, his dad always supported the band. His sister Emma, who you might have met Emma down the years, actually. His sister Emma always did some really good stuff after the fact, did some benefit shows, you know, for in Jesse's name, you know, for different things. And his dad always used to come to the shows when we played, and I felt terrible for his family, you know, because they were like I say, really good, personable people, you know, and it was rough, you know, for them. I'm sure, you know, without them being here to speak for themselves, you know.
You've had a hell of a legacy, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I never, you know what, mate. We can talk. We can sit here and talk about it now, and it's, you know, the conversation's been good to think about. But mate, I never think about that stuff ever. You know, I never. For one thing, I mean, you know, much like yourselves, you know, you also carved quite a path yourselves, and of course, people always say really nice things, oh, you know, legends of grindcore or whatever, and it's nice that people say that, but I never believe the hype. Almost, because if you become complacent, I always believe that your creative edge going forwards can be affected. And I always hoped that we would make challenging albums all the way down the line. So I never believed the hype. And mate, to be honest with you, yeah, I love the band, and I feel grateful for it, and I would never take it for granted. But you know, all the celebrity stuff, minor or major, that surrounds it, I don't give a fuck about that stuff, man. I never did, you know. I never did it for award ceremonies. I feel it's nice that people recognise the band in that way sometimes, but that's not me, man. You know what I mean? I don't care about the kudos. I don't give a shit, man. You know what I mean? That's I was never never motivated me, to be perfectly honest with you. You know.
I think the thing that, what I would see from the outside is just the music and the message. That's what,
Yeah.
to me, Napalm has had, you've had some brutal music, but to me, the message has always been equally as important.
Sure.
What you're saying, what you're singing about. I
Sure.
don't want to say you're a political. I don't know if you're a political band, but it's. So,
Yeah.
you're definitely singing about society and the ills of society.
So just to touch on that, that's a good thing you brought up there, because I am me personally. I grew up and I formed my outlook was always formed around left wing ideas. That's me as a person. That is part of my character undeniably. So Napalm goes in that direction. If we are anything, we are a left wing band. If you want to put it in political terms. All that being said, I also understand that, the definition of politics and mainstream politics, if the end game, as it is for me, the Napalm Death, is human liberation and animal liberation, then if the politics fails that end game, then it's not worth anything. Which is why I would also call Napalm an apolitical band, so of no discernible political, absolute, rigid, definition. Because but of course, the other thing to say is that Napalm came from the first and foremost, the anarcho scene. Napalm Death was on the first, one of the third Crass bullshit detector compilation. So
right,
that's where Napalm come from. I always felt that as part of my ideas. I also was influenced by that. My bottom line was always, well, why should it be that these people in power should set the tone for everybody else when they're basically telling you that you can't have the same access to resources and power that they've got? That dynamic for me was always one to be questioned, you know what I mean? And I still feel that way.
Absolutely.
My outlook hasn't changed. It's the same, because why would it need to change if the power base and the setup is essentially the same,
Yeah, that's funny. As you were saying exactly what you were saying, I just watched Donald Trump Jr. gave a speech last night or something, and he said, as you were saying what you were saying, like, why should the people in power decide this, that, and the other thing? And here's this guy, and he's talking about how I was lucky enough to come from a family that could have sent me to the best schools, the best private schools, and the best colleges, and I think everybody should be able to afford that. And I was like, afford that? I was that's why you've got it all fucking wrong. That, like, we shouldn't have to pay for that because your father's father, know, and he got to inherit $400 million from this motherfucker. Yeah. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ.
There's a certain,
it was mind-boggling.
There's a certain phrase that springs to mind, and it's quite a well-known phrase. It's called redistribution of wealth. You know what I mean? And that was always my thing. Was redistribution of wealth. It's without going too far into the politics of it. The world as it is has not learned its lessons, and we're still in a position where a significant percentage of the world's population does not have access to the fundamentals of living a dignified, peaceful, and life without poverty and hunger and fear of violence. A large percentage of the world's population still is that split. And if we care about the whole idea of the human race and humanity means anything, if it's worth a shit, then that has to fucking change. It cannot stay the way it is. It's unsustainable, to put it mildly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, man. How long do you think COVID's going to last?
Well, mate, trying to predict something like that is an impossible thing because it's a virus. It's going to do what it needs to do to evolve and mutate. You know, we think as human beings we can like wave goodbye to it and it'll just disappear over the horizon. It just doesn't quite fucking work like that. You know what I mean? So it will be here for as long as we don't have a vaccine, you know, or other methods to not eradicate it but control it, you know, and of course that people actually take consideration of their fellow human beings, you know, and actually, you know, I can be cynical about governments at the best of times, you know, but I do think that, you know, maintaining a distance, wearing a mask, although it's not the cure, you know, this is one thing where me and some people who are kind of free thinkers, or this is where we disagree, because I think wearing a mask, it's we know it's not going to stop infection through, but at least, you know what, one thing it does, it stops a certain percentage of the droplets that come out of you from transmitting into the air, and it therefore gives a respect to your fellow human being, to your friends, your fellow human beings. So therefore, is it such a great hardship to wear a fucking mask? Is it, as some people have been saying, is it the equivalent of a pair of handcuffs by the government or the police on you? No, it is fucking not. It's wearing a mask. You know, it's limiting the amount of particles that you output, you know. So as far as I'm concerned, if it helps people, if it maybe stops, if I don't know if I've got the disease or not, I haven't been tested, I haven't had any symptoms, I'm healthy, I don't know, I could be carrying it, you know what I mean? So if it's protecting, just for argument's sake, a guy who's 85 years old who happens to be in the same like grocery shop as me, then I'll fucking wear a mask. You know what I mean? You know, for his sake, you know, so rather than mine, you know.
Right on. Yeah, for me, I was such a Star Wars nerd that I was wearing, you know, masks well up until like 7th grade, like Darth Vader masks. Yeah. I'm like, this is awesome. I can do it again. Sweet.
Yeah, and of course, if you were the mentors, of course, and he was still around, then you wouldn't have life would be just as normal. You know what I mean?
You could go to a mentor show and look just like El Duce. It'd be no thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, Barney, thanks for being on No Fucking Regrets, man.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Yeah, it's been a blast. Yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate you.
I suppose I'll see you when I see you, man. You know.
I hear you. Again, Steve Lagudi said, you know, shout out. He misses you. He misses your photos that you guys swap back and forth together.
Oh, mate, they'll, trust me. When the tours start up again, I will be sending him some communication. So we say, you know.
Awesome, Barney-o. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Barney
from Napalm Death, aka Barney-o.
Yeah.
With Robb Flynn.